Hello folks, this is Vivs again from slidenerd. So let's talk about a unique situation, shall we? So if you have your girlfriend who's waiting at some place and you go late, she probably asks you this: where the hell have you been? How long you were taking? And what do you think you will say? Will you say like I was 2 hours traveling or something like that? Or are you gonna say, hey, I just took 7,384 seconds to reach your place? Is that what you're gonna say? Well, certainly not. So in this video, we are gonna make a program that converts something like 7,384 seconds into 2 hours, 13 minutes, and whatever you can call it. So this is one of the most complex programs. If you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, then this is the place where you start. So let's see how this works. We'll ask the user enter distance traveled in kilometers. He's gonna say something like 80. Then you ask the speed in kilometers per hour. You'll say 25. Then you will say this, that you took 3 hours, 12 minutes, 0 seconds to travel. This is the program, alright? So first things first. As you know, this 3 hours, 12 minutes, 0 seconds, to convert, you're not gonna get this directly, right? You're gonna simply get something in terms of hours or minutes or seconds, and you'll have to convert that, right? So let's see how that's done. The thing is this: you have the input, which is kilometers per hour. Now remember one thing: for best accuracy, it is suggested that you convert everything into seconds and distance into meters so that you can get the maximum accuracy, alright? So you can do three things: you can assume values, or you can ask the user, or take random values. First, let's talk about the distance, kilometers. We'll convert that into meters, right? Into thousand. I'm very bad at physics, I'll tell you that thing honestly. So I had to Google all this stuff just to know this out. So you have speed, which is kilometers per hour. You say convert it to meters per second by multiplying 1000 by 3600. Well, I had to Google this one too. So next, you have your time, which is distance upon speed. You're gonna get this in seconds, right? And from this point, our second part of the program starts, where you're gonna take the seconds and convert that into hours, minutes, and seconds. So first, let's do this much, shall we? So I'm using NetBeans over here. I'm gonna say Control Shift N for making a new project. Click next. Call this time converter. Click finish. So at this point, NetBeans has probably done all the garbage work for us. So we can go ahead, ask the input. We'll say system.out.println. Copy paste this statement 2 times because we need 2 inputs, right? So we're gonna say enter distance in kilometers. And then we'll say enter speed, kilometers per hour. So this is done so far. Next, we need to set up the input pipe mechanism. Right now I have been talking about this a lot. If you have not seen that, I'll probably have a link up. See system.in, the pipe for getting binary data. Convert this into what you call characters. Have this in, put a semicolon. Now this entire stuff is converted, but you need to connect your program to this stuff, right? So you say new buffered reader, and you have a thing set, and you give this a name. Oops, buffered reader. Yep. Alright, so now Java is gonna say, hey, I don't know what this means, and I don't know what this means either. So alright, no props. You're gonna tell it. You'll say import java.io.star. Okay, that's done. So enter distance in kilometers. We're gonna need, we'll say pr.readline, reader.readline. So at this point, this reader.readline is gonna get one string, right, which the user entered. We need to store this somewhere. We'll say that in a double speed, distance. Yep. Again, this is gonna be an error because let's see why. It says incompatible types, double and string. This reader.readline is a string. You have a double over here, so you're gonna use a function called parse double to convert this entire thing into double, right? Where is this parse double? It's inside double class. So you say double.parse double. Again, this is gonna be an error. It says unreported exception, blah blah blah. As you know, your input is like connection to the internet. You can get disconnected anytime, so you gotta make sure that your compiler handles that stuff. when you get disconnected. So here you have distance mentioned. If you're a beginner and you're wondering what this throws exception mean, don't worry about it, because we'll get into that later in our course. Double speed, gonna see the same thing, double dot parse double, blah blah blah, reader dot read line. Alright, at this point we have the input, the speed, right? So now we need to convert distance into meters. Let's leave some spaces to keep this input thing separate. Let's get down. Distance into 1000. This is gonna give us the meters, right? We're gonna store this in distance. We don't need a new variable for that. Let's say speed into 1000 by 3600. This should give us the new speed, which is in meters per second, right? So now we have the time. We'll say double time is distance upon speed. Alright, so now let's just print this time out and see if we're getting something. Say system.out.println time, control S for saving, shift F6 for running, enter distance in kilometers, say 10, enter speed kilometers per hour, say 18. It's gonna say 2000 seconds. Alright, so at this point we have the distance in seconds. So one part of our program is done. Alright, yep, it's done. So now we move to the next part, which is the most complex, or you can say the more fun part, you know. To convert time, that's what exactly we need to do. We need to convert this 2000 seconds into some hours, some minutes, and some seconds, right? So let's see how that's done. First of all, we'll talk about getting hours outside. So let's say you have a value like 7432 seconds. Now you guys know that 3600 seconds is 1 hour, right? So if you have 7432 seconds, it's probably some 2 hours and some seconds and some minutes, right? So let's see. This complete yellow line which you see, you can take that as 7432 seconds. And this brackets 1 hour 3600 seconds, 1 hour 3600 seconds. So you have 2 hours, right? Simply to find hours, you divide the total time by 3600, alright? So let's go ahead and do this part. NetBeans, we go to find hours. Now remember, the answer is gonna be some 2 point some hours, blah blah blah, but you don't need the decimal, so we simply say int hours. Alright, so now int hours is time divided by 3600. Now at this point, if you know, this is gonna give an error because time is double. This is an integer, double is bigger than an integer, it cannot fit inside. If you remember the typecasting video in which I have shown this, you need to convert this into an int. Put this entire thing in a bracket. Even if you don't put in a bracket, it's no problem. Let's go ahead and run this. Say system.out.println. Let's print the hours out first. I'll say print hours, control S, shift F6, enter distance, the same thing, blah blah blah, 18, 10, 18. Oh, it says hours 0. 2000 seconds. 2000 seconds is less than 3600, so it's gonna give 0, right? So let's put some other value and see if we are getting the hours. Shift F6, say enter the distance as 30 kilometers, speed is 18. Now it's gonna say 1 hour. Fine, it's working somewhat. So let's go back and get the minutes out. So at this point we need to convert minutes, right? Same thing, assume 7432 seconds. Now let's see how this works, right? This complete yellow line is 7432 seconds, right? Out of this you're gonna remove those 2 hours, which is 7200 seconds. You're gonna remove that because you need the end part, which is this thing over here. So now you say 3600 seconds, 3600. If you remove these 2 hours, you have 232 seconds remaining, right, at the end. Now this 232 seconds, you know how to convert this into minutes, right? Just divide that by 60 and you're gonna simply get 3 minutes. So to tell that in programmatic way, this is how you do it. You take the total time in seconds, you minus the hours into 3600 and you divide the entire thing by 60, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Go to NetBeans. Now we'll take minutes, total time, which was time minus hours, into 3600. Put this entire thing in a bracket, divide this by 60, semicolon. It's gonna give an error because this time thing is in double and we need to convert this entire thing into an int. We'll say int over here. Go ahead, copy paste the minutes out, print the minutes out, control S, shift F6, enter the distance 30, enter the speed 18. It's gonna say 1 hour 40 minutes. Alright, so now the only thing we need is the seconds, right? How many seconds remain after taking the hours and minutes out? So let's go ahead and see that. Seconds. Assume 7432 seconds, the same full yellow line which is 7432. Remove the 2 hours from this, which is the green line, right? 2 hours. Remove the blue line, which is the minutes, which is 3 minutes. So ultimately, if you see this last small part which remains is the number of seconds, right? So in short, you have to take the total time, you have to subtract the hours, you have to subtract all the minutes, and you get seconds remaining, right? That's exactly what needs to be done. So let's see how this is written in the programmatic way. You say seconds is total time minus hours into 3600 minus minutes into 60, right? So let's go ahead and do this. We'll say int seconds. We'll say total time, which is time minus hours into 3600 minus minutes into 60. So at this point it's gonna give an error. It's gonna say, yeah, loss of precision, put this entire thing in a bracket, convert this into an integer. Remember, we are not interested in 5.4 seconds, we only want 5 seconds, that's all. So again, go ahead, copy paste, print this out, print the seconds, Control S, Shift F6. Let's test the distance 7432. Wait a second. Let's test the distance kilometers, say 30, distance speed 18. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Put a distance at 18. The speed as 17. So it says 1 hour 3 minutes 31 seconds. Alright, now it's working. So there is another shortcut to get the seconds. This last part can be simplified further. You don't need to write all this garbage here. So let's see how that works. There's another way to get seconds. Now this is how it works, alright. So first of all, the same thing, assume 7432 seconds. Alright, so here this is the full yellow line. Now 60 seconds make 1 minute, right? 60 seconds make another minute, 60 seconds make another minute. So in short, if you remove all the minutes out of this yellow line, in the end you're gonna be left with seconds, right? So in short, you can divide 7432 divided by 60 and you can find its remainder, right, which is gonna be exactly 52, which is the same thing which we got previously. In short, you use the modulus operator to find the remainder and you can see the time. Let's see if that is the same thing we get. Let's say call it seconds 2 to make sure that we get the same answer from both. This time we'll take the total time and we'll remove all the minutes by dividing it by 60 and taking the remainder out. So this thing needs to be converted to an integer. Let's probably say int print seconds 2 as well. So Control S, Shift F6, distance in kilometers say 20, speed say 18. As you can see, 40 and 40, you are getting the same thing, right? So this is a shorter way of calculating the same thing. If you have problems figuring out how this thing came, remember, you can always use this method. So I hope you guys understood something out of this. This was probably the second last of the simplest programs in our playlist. There are going to be more complex stuff coming up. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel, leave your comments, let me know if you have any doubts, issues, problems. I'm there to help you out. Have a nice day. See you later, guys.